Daf Mem 40, right?
Yeah.
We're a little over halfway down. It starts Taner Rabbanan. In my Gemara, there's a star at that, telling you that this is quoting a Tosefta. I don't know if you have the same Gemara, same star. Okay, so it's the end of a line. Taner Rabbanan. Started in a Braisa. Merchatz, a bathhouse. Shapakakun Kavav Mi'arav Shabbos. There's two possibilities here. They stopped the heat either from leaving, or in other words, they like insulated the heat, or they stopped it from being able to be heated. It would be heated from like one side. They closed up the area where the heat would get into the water. Rashi interestingly quotes it from Levia, which they tell us is a remez to Rabbi Yehuda Halevi. I haven't seen that in the in Rashi, that he quotes Rabbi Yehuda Halevi. Rabbi Yehuda Halevi was earlier than Rashi. Libi b'Mizrach, Rabbi Yehuda Halevi, the Tion Halot Teshali. His other pshat is, what's his other pshat? He had another pshat where the pshat where you're heating it up was closed off, so it wasn't heated on Shabbos, or so the heat doesn't get out. That's the two pshat in there.
Rabbi, can you mute everybody, please?
Yes.
Moshe forgot to tell you that.
Okay, I got it. Okay. So what's the halacha with this merchatz? The water wasn't heated on Shabbos, whatever the case is. So it says the Mitzvah Shabbos reichitz by miyad. After Shabbos, you can go to this merchatz, this mikveh, this bath, whatever, and you could use it right away. If it would have had a concern that it was heated on Shabbos, you'd have to wait for the amount of time that it took to heat the water. You would have to wait that amount of time. Who knows how long that is? Pakukun kavim of Yom Tiv. If the same thing happened there of Yom Tov, you can go in tomorrow and sweat. And you can go out and you can rinse in the outer room. You can't rinse in the hot water, but you can rinse in the outer room. Taisus points out that the contrast here between Shabbos and Yom Tov is not accurate. The halacha is the same. You can use it on Shabbos as well to sweat, and you can wash in it immediately after Yom Tov. So why didn't it combine the two together? It said in a very interesting way. It said like as if on Shabbos there's one halacha, on Yom Tov there's another halacha. Taisus says that it didn't want to do it it didn't want to combine it for specific reasons, but whatever the case is, the halacha would be the same. The Bryce is telling me the same thing, Shabbos and Yom Tov, which means that I'm allowed to sweat in the bathhouse, but I'm not allowed to wash. But after Shabbos, I can immediately use the water. Amar Rav Yehuda, Ma'aseh b'merchatz shel b'nei Brak. Rav Yehuda says, I have Rav Yehuda, which doesn't seem accurate to me. Does anyone have Rabbi Yehuda with a yud? You have Rabbi Yehuda? Yeah, good. I'm going to add in a yud. I even see a gap, so there's like a missing space. He says, there was a story of a bathhouse in Bnei Brak, Shepakun Nekavim of Yom Tov. They did what they were supposed to. They closed off the way of heating it, or the way for the heat to get out, whatever they did Erev Yom Tov, which was correct. And the Macha Nichnas, I assume it's Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, not Rabbi Elazar ben Arach, I don't know. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah of Rabbi Akiva, the two went in. Vehiziu bay, they sweated in the air. We're talking about on Yom Tov. And v'yatzu, they went out, they left the main room, and they rinsed in the outer room. The only thing is, where the hot water was, that was covered with boards. There's two pshatim here, what's going on. Taisus quotes Rashi, and then he has his own thing. Taisus quotes Rashi saying that they actually used hot water that was heated Erev Shabbos to wash themselves. Taisus is bothered by that because Rabbi Yehuda, if you remember, last time we said that there were three opinions: Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Shimon, and Rabbi Yehuda. And Rabbi Yehuda was the middle opinion, was the Machriya, and he said that hot water is asur and cold water is mutter. So how could Rabbi Yehuda be quoting this, saying that they're using hot water? So Taisus says, actually, we're not talking about that it was the concern about the water being heated on Shabbos, or it was only heated Erev Shabbos. He found a Tosefta that says that they used cold water. And Chamin Shlem Mechupin, the hot water was covered, so no one should think that they used hot water. It's not them. It's not the concern that Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah had a concern that maybe the water was heated on Shabbos, but they didn't have that concern because it was covered, so they used the water that was heated Erev Shabbos. It was a concern that they themselves had. That would be a problem because Rabbi Yehuda holds they can't use hot water. The concern was that maybe other people see them walking out dripping wet, are going to think that they used hot water. No, they used cold water because the hot water was covered with boards. Okay. The sages said, oh, they don't have to be concerned about hot water being covered. They went in to sweat and it's not a problem. Okay, so we see sweating in a bathhouse is okay on Shabbos. You go to a shvitz. However, that switched. That changed when there were increased oivrei avera. They forbade sweating in a bathhouse, in a shvitz. The Brisa continues on b'toyos shel krachim metayel ben v'nachoshesh. Apparently, they had these very large bathhouses. It was like went across the street. Yeah, you see in Dr. Stein's picture there. There were these huge rooms. It was basically the street would walk. You could just walk through it. That was like part of the street. So I think if you by the Kotel, if you go through those tunnels, one of them it's like a large area that they take you through. It's very open. I think one of them was a mikveh or a bath.
This is the picture.
Oh, that's that? That's that picture? It's a huge ceiling.
It says built in 1327 by Mamluks beneath the old city near the Temple Mount.
Uh-huh.
So I think this is the correct picture.
So even though this is a place where they sweat, but you could walk through it and it was no concern. It was a very large place. That wasn't a concern. What was the concern where they had to make this prohibition that you can't go into a bathhouse to sweat? Wow. Originally, people would wash with hot water. It was heated Erev Shabbos. Everything's good. Heated Erev Shabbos, what's the problem? You heat it up before Shabbos. You can take a drink of hot water on Shabbos. You can bathe on Shabbos. They started to, the bathhouse attendants would heat the water on Shabbos. They say, no, it was heated before Shabbos. This is very unique that we have a concern like this. Usually we don't have concerns that Jewish people are violating Shabbos in any way. I saw the Mefarshim say that they weren't really violating Shabbos. They were adding wood in a way that there was a concern that they might stoke the coals on Shabbos. And that's a concern. It was like a chash that they were saying, "Oh, I'm not going to do that." So, and they were saying the Erev Shabbos Uchma was all done before Shabbos in a kosher way, and really it wasn't in a kosher way. So what happened was Asra Sacham and Vitir Sazeh. They said you can't bathe anymore in hot water, but you can still sweat. However, people would still wash, and they would say, "Why are you so dripping wet?" It's, "Oh, we just went into sweat." So, they said you can't even go into sweat either. They said you can still allowed to use the chamitveria to wash, but you can't use chamiyar, that means heated by fire. However, people would be walking around and saying that, yeah, we went to the chamitveria. It was really chamiyar. So the only thing left is rinsing with cold water. You can't use hot water. However, they saw that people were not able to withstand this. So they allowed chamitveria. It's interesting. There must have been different cultures, because we hear sometimes that people didn't bathe back then as often as we do. And here we're seeing that people couldn't withstand. They had to bathe on Shabbos. It looks like it was a much more prevalent, as part of the culture. They had to do this. It's very interesting. See, what happened was, Mishirabu Oivrei Aveira, they forbade sweating. Who were the Oivrei Aveira? The Oivrei Aveira were, they said that you can't, originally they could bathe in hot water. The rabbis forbade the bathing in the hot water that was heated yesterday because it was being heated on Shabbos. People continued to bathe in hot water that was heated yesterday. Is that biblically prohibited? No. That's only the rabbinic decree. They continued bathing in yesterday's hot water, no biblical prohibition there. And because of that, the rabbi said that you can't even sweat. They were bathing in yesterday's hot water saying, "Oh, we were just sweating." So what's the Oivrei Aveira? Oivrei Aveira is people that are violating a rabbinic decree. If it would have been called Russia, then this would have made it to the front page of Tanya, where it says, even someone that violates a rabbinic decree is called a Russia. We've had that Gemara, I think, in Nida, with Al Sheba quotes. Okay, here it's just called Oivrei Aveira. Come on, what does this go like? Ki Haitana. Okay. Ki Haitana. Okay. Period. This goes like our Tana. That's where Rav is getting this from. Okay, now it says, these large bathhouses you can walk through and there's no problem. Metayel, spazier. Amarava dafka krachen. That's only from the big cities. But if it's a small city, not. My time. What's the reason? There's too much steam, and it's going to cause clearly sweating. The person's going to sweat. In the large ones, you can just walk through and not necessarily will be sweating. Okay. Person can warm himself next to a fire, and then he goes out and he rinses with cold water. But you can't do it the other way. You can't put cold water on you and then sit next to the fire because you're warming the water that's on you. I used to joke about this guy. He eats raw potatoes and then he sits next to the stove to heat it up. So this is something like that. He puts the cold water on him and then he sits next to the fire. The water should get warm. That's not allowed. That's the first statement here. Taner Rabbanan. Taisus points out that we never really said there's an issue of warming water next to an oven. Saimech wasn't an issue. Now, yes, there's an issue of bishul, but this water is not going to get to Yad Seledes. He's not going to put himself in a position to have Yad Sele. What's it's going to burn the... So why is there an issue here? Taisus says there's a difference between drinking water and rinsing water and bath water. It looks like Reichetz Bechamen. That's an interesting difference here. Okay, Tanur Rabbanon, Mecha Madam Aluntis, Menicha B'nei Mayim B'Shabbos Vad Shla Yavi Kumkumus Shel Mayim Chamen V'Yenichen Al B'nei Mayim B'Shabbos. Aluntis is a towel. Rashi actually says tiula. You can warm a towel and you can put it on your stomach. This is like a hot water bottle that helps. The only thing is the Gemara then goes on and says, but however, don't use a bottle. Don't use a hot water bottle. You can warm a towel, probably a wet towel, or whatever aluntis is, but don't use a hot water bottle. Why? They had a concern that it could spill. They didn't have. They have. I remember my grandmother's house. They had like a rubbery thing with it's get tight and it would heat up. So that was, I hope, safer, more safe than what they had in the olden days. But there was a concern it could spill, and so a person could get burnt. So they said not to do that. Why not? Well, there's a sakana, but on Shabbos there was a concern that you may be reichetz bechamen. You may be washing with hot water. Okay, Taner Rabbanan. Now we have a brisa. We're going to have three opinions here. Maybe Adam Kisin Mayim Aminiche Kneged Amadura. A person can take a jug of water, put it next to the fire. Not so that it heats up, but that it takes away the chill. It warms a little. A person can put a water next to a fire, not to get hot, but just to take away the chill. Rabbi Yehuda says the same thing, just not with water. He says with oil. You're not cooking the oil, you just want it to get warm. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel Isha Sach Yad Shemen Mechamasa Kneged Amadura V'Sachal V'Nakatan V'Enachishashas. Shimon ben Gamliel says that you could do the same thing as Rabbi Yehuda says, just not in a jug, in your hand. Okay. Now, this gets complicated when we have different opinions, but each one is talking about something else. And now the Gemara wants to know, what does each one hold about the other one's case? So the Tanna Kama didn't mention anything about oil. They just said water. So what's the Tanna Kama's opinion about oil? It says you could put water next to a fire. What about oil? Rabbi Yehuda clearly says yes. Iboilu shemen mahol Tanna Kama. What does the Tanna Kama hold about oil? So if there's a possibility for two opinions, and there definitely is, Rabbi and Rabbi Yosef Damri Tavayo LaTeira. Rabbi and Rabbi Yosef say that the Tanna Kama is being makel. They said there's for sure no problem with oil. Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak Amalei Surah. Rav Nachman says no, only water was allowed, oil not allowed. Rabbi and Rabbi Yosef Damri Tavayo LaTeira. Rabbi and Rabbi Yosef say that it's permissible. Shemen afpisha yad seledus by mutter. When it comes to oil, even if it becomes Yatziledes by, it's permissible. Why? Because Kasavar Tanakama, Yatziledes is, Gemara's going to explain it here, but it's the amount that literally means that would scald or that would burn the, like the word Seiled is probably scald, has some of the same consonants in there. That it would burn a person. I think it's like 115 degrees or something they say today. So, but oil, even if it gets to Yad Siledes, it's still permissible. Yad Siledes, when it comes to liquid, usually the heat of the liquid is what determines if it's being cooked. When it comes to food, it's not the heat of it, and actually maybe it is the heat. Those chefs, they use a thermometer inside the meat. But that's not the way we discuss it. We discuss it if it's edible. We talk about if it's a certain type of, a certain level of being edible, Michael Ben Drusai or whatever, which may have to do with the heat inside. When it comes to water, the way we talk about it, or liquid, we talk about just the temperature. So here we're saying that even though it's reaching Yatziledes, it's still not considered bishul. Kasavar Tanakama, shemen ein bei mishum bishul. Shemen is not, doesn't have a concern of being cooked. I'm not sure exactly why, but I don't know. Okay, so that's the opinion of the Tanakama, according to Rabbi and Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yehuda says, no, shemen does have a concern of being cooked. But you're not cooking it. You're only warming it. Okay, so that's the machlekes, the Tanakama and Rabbi Yehuda. Can you get the oil to a level that's even hotter than Yatziledes by? Rabbi Yehuda says no, and Tanakama says yes. Shimon says you even have a concern by oil of warming it. That's how much there's a concern by oil. You have to do it in your hand. You can't do it in a jug. Okay, that's the opinion of Rabbi and Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Nachman Yitzchak says that the Tanakama was really being machmer on oil, not being makel on oil, like Rabbi and Rabbi Yosef said, being machmer. Shemen afa pisheni Yatziledes by Yasser. Oil, even though it's not Yatziledes, it's still Yasser. You notice the Tanakama only said that you're allowed to do this with water to warm it. What is, according to Rabbi Nachman Yitzchak, oil not? Because oil, even warming it, is considered bishul. Rabbi Yehuda says no oil, you're allowed to warm. Shimon says that you're not allowed to warm oil either. Okay. The Gemara asks, Tanakama, Reb Shimon ben Gamliel, Hainu Tanakama. Same opinion. Can't warm oil. The Gemara says it can be nice kalachayad. If you do it in an abnormal way. Shimon ben Gamliel held that you can put it in your hand and warm it up. Tanakama held you can't even do that. Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Amar Shmuel. Now we go to Amirayim. Echad shemen ve'echad mayim yatziledes by Yasser, ein yatziledes by Mutter. Depends yatziledes. Oil and water has the same status. If you heat it to the degree of yatziledes, then it's aser. Hechidam yatziledes by. What's the case of yatziledes? Amarach v'kol shekreisi shel tinik nichvas. It's the heat that would burn the stomach of a child. Yes, when they give a bath to the child, they test the temperature. They feel the temperature of the bath water. I don't know where they feel on their lips or something. However, wherever they can tell what would be too hot. So too hot for a baby's stomach is considered yatziledes. Okay, people that have the electric water things in the shower, they can like type in what temperature they want the shower to be. They have more understanding of what degree it would be. The rest, the old-fashioned, you just turn the thing. You know exactly how hot. But they say something like 105 degrees is a normal shower. I think maybe something around there. So it's got to be hotter than that, I think. Rabbi Yitzchak bar Avdimi. It's a very famous Gemara. Rabbi Yitzchak bar Avdimi said, "Pamachas nechnasti acher Rebbe lebeis merchatz." Rabbi Yitzchak bar Avdimi said, one time, I followed Rabbi into the base merchatz, to the bath. Ubikashti, by the way, this is on Shabbos. Ubikashti laniach lepach shel shemen bambati, and I asked if I should put a jug of hot water of oil into the bath to warm it up. V'amali tol b'klisheni, said, don't put it directly into the bath. Take some water from the bath, put that water into like a bucket. That bucket would be called a klisheni. Retain and put the oil into the klisheni. Ooh, shmamina tlas. He learns 3 halachas from here. Shmamina shemen yesh be mishum bishul. First of all, oil could be cooked, so I can't put it into the kli rishon. The ambati, the bath, would be a kli rishon. Shmamina klisheni inim bavashal. Second of all, a klisheni doesn't cook. Shmamina havsher zer bishulayu. You see that warming would be considered cooking. Okay. Very famous Taisvus over here. Taisvus says, what's the difference of Kli Rishon and Kli Sheni? Is it Yatzei Ledas or is it not Yatzei Ledas? That's what you said. Yatzei Ledas is considered cooking, not Yatzei Ledas is not. Taisvus answers, the walls of a Kli Sheni are cold, so therefore it's cooling down, and the walls of a Kli Rishon are hot. So that's it's going to heat it up, as if there's an intensity to the temperature besides for just the temperature. As if a Kli Rishon has the same temperature as a Kli Sheni, but it doesn't have the intensity of it. That's what it's doesn't have the strength to keep it, to bring anything to the level that it's at, because the walls are cold by a Kli Sheni, and a Kli Rishon does. That's what Taisvus says. It's interesting, Taisvus Yishanim here. Discussing what was the temperature of the Kli Rishon. Do you have to be machmer in a Kli Rishon if it's not Yatzei Ledas by? That's it's a halachic discussion. Okay. Hechi Abed Hachi, how is Rabbi allowed to say this? He was talking Torah in the bathhouse. Maybe he was speaking in Aramaic or something, in English. That can't be the answer. Abaya says, doesn't matter, it's talking in Hebrew. Doesn't change it. Talking in English doesn't change it. Depends on what the content of the words. The Gemara answers, you're telling someone not to do an isser, that you're allowed to say in a merchatz. Teida, I'll prove it to you. Dam Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel Ma'aseh b'Talmidei shel Rav Meir shnechnas achal b'beis merchatz. Talmidai or Talmidav? This is a story with a student of Rav Meir that followed him into a bathhouse. Rav Meir was before Rabbi. An earlier story. Rabbi says that the reason why I'm greater than my friends because I saw Reb Meir's back. Reb Meir was before Rabbi. So a student follows Reb Meir into the bathhouse. Bikish ladiach karka wants to rinse the floor. Let me see how they translate this. 1 second. Yeah, this is also on Shabbos. He wants to rinse the floor of the ambati. Reb Meir says, "V'amalai ein medichin." You can't rinse the floor on Shabbos. You might smooth out the ground. Mash v'gumas is like the same problem with playing marbles on Shabbos, on a dirt floor. So lasach like karka. He wanted to at least shmear it. Malay and Sachin, they have the same problem. So we see that if you were telling someone not to do not to commit a sin, that you're allowed to say, even in the bathhouse. What do you see from here? Alma afushimi surashani. Hachanami afushimi surashani. Okay. Amar Ravina. Ravina says Shmamina. We see from this that Hamavashal b'chamitveria b'Shabbos chayav. Cooking in chamitveria on Shabbos is chayav. The Ma'aseh the Rabbi Lachik Zera Habi. Did we mention that it was chamitveria? Rabbi was after the Gezerah. V'amalei told b'klisheni v'tein. He said you have to use klisheni. You can't use the ambati. Where it says Eily, is it really so? V'amar of Chizda mavashal b'chamitveria b'Shabbos is pater. We said that mavashal and chamitveria is pater. The Gemara says, so my chayev nami dekamar makas mardas. It would be only chayev makas mardas. Did Rabbi say that it would be chayev? I don't remember the word chayev in there. You just said tol b'klisheni v'tein.
He's talking about what Ravina said. Ravina said chayev.
Ravina says chayev. Yeah, but what I want to know is, how did Ravina get chayev? Shema min avash b'chamitveria b'Shabbos chayev.
He used the story of Rabbi.
He used the story of Rabbi. Now, Rabbi didn't really say chayev. Okay, so the Gemara is explaining Ravina's chayev by saying that Ravina meant makas mardas. Very good. Okay. Amar Reb Zera says, Anacha zisei l'Rabavo the shot ba'ambati. Reb Zera says, I saw Rabavo, he was floating in a bath. V'layadana I akar, ila yakar, but I don't know if he took his feet off the ground or not. There's a problem of swimming in a bath. Problem swimming in a bath. So he doesn't know if he was actually swimming, if he took his feet off the ground. 1 second. This is Daf Mem. It says you're not allowed to swim on Shabbos. There's a decree. You may make some sort of raft. So it says like this. Pshita de layakar. It's obvious that he didn't take his feet off the ground. The Tanya layashat adam bebreichem alayayim afilu medes b'chatzer. You're not allowed to swim even if it's in a courtyard, even if it's in a private area, and there's no concern that you might splash 4 amas in a Rosh Hashanah or something. It's in a private area. This is like kasha. It's not so simple because it depends on the incline of the water. If it's a steep incline, so then that is not a concern. But if it's a small incline, there's 2 pshatim here. It depends if it looks like a seabed. If it looks like a seabed, then it's a problem, or a lake. But if it doesn't look like a lake because it has like a wall, then that would be acceptable. It's more similar to a vessel. That's why Reb Zera had a question if Rabavo was floating or not. Rashi has 2 pshatim here. The second pshat is similar to a lake. And this first pshat is that you may end up mushing around the mud that's near that's near the shore with your feet, and that's an issue. That's an issue. Megabel. It's like kneading. Okay. Amar Reb Zera nachazisi leRabavo. Another statement of Reb Zera with Rabavo. He says he saw Rabavo sheniach yadav k'neged panav shel mata, that he put his hands on his private areas. But I don't know if he was touching or he wasn't touching. We're talking about he was washing, he was taking a bath, and on his way out or on his way in, it doesn't tell us yet, he was covering himself for modesty. Says he doesn't know if he was touching himself. The Gemara says, Pshita d'lei naga. Of course he didn't touch himself. Reb Zera was from Bavel, as we're going to see. He went to Eretz Yisrael. In Eretz Yisrael, he sees Rabavo. Rabavo was a Talmud of Rabbi Yechanan. On the chart, it's like a step down, a generation down or two. The Tanya was taught in a Brayso Rebbe Lezer Reimer. We learned this in Masechtas Nida. Anyone that urinates and he holds his bris, he holds his organ while he's urinating, it's as if he brings the flood to the world, because he could come to carry. So obviously Rabbi wasn't doing that. Amar Rabbi so kabbaleshes. This we learned over there as well, that Rabbi didn't have this concern because he had such fear. I think over there we learned he had Yer Shemayim, that that there's no concern that he would have thoughts that it would end up warming his body. The Tanana was taught in a Mishnah by Leshes Nechnasalir B'Shas Shalom Chavius Psuches Asuris Tumis Mutaris. Let's say an enemy army comes into the town, and it's a peaceful time. B'Shas Shalom means that it's not an enemy army; it's a local army. So if there are barrels, if the barrels are opened, then you have to have a concern that maybe it's Yain Nesach. But if the barrels are closed, then they're fine. If it's a time of war, then everything is mutter, even open barrels of wine. Open barrels of wine is a problem if there's non-Jews around. Why? Because they're so busy with the battle, they don't have time to get involved with swishing the wine around for the Avodah Zarah. Alma, kiven the bisi le'menasche, hachnam kiven the bas le'yaseler hurei. So, since they're terrified, so they won't come to Nisuch, that means pouring the wine for Avodah Zarah. So too, over here, Rabavo, because he's terrified, he won't come to have thoughts. It was no problem for him to cover himself and to touch himself while he's going into the bath. Over here, what is the biatusa? It says biatusa denara. He was afraid of the river. Eily, is it really so? It's as if anyone that covers his bris, it's as if he's denying the bris. He's not supposed to be ashamed of the bris. The Gemara says like kasha. It depends. If he's coming out of the water, or he's going into the water. Going into the water, there's no one there. He's facing the water, so he doesn't cover it. Coming out of the water, where there's people there, then he's allowed to cover his bris because that's for modesty on his way out. Ki had Rava Shachi, Reb Zera Zakif. Rava would like bend over going into the bath. So that would like conceal his private area. And Reb Zera would stand up. Rabbanan de Ravashi ki avinachsi zakfi. The students of Ravashi's yeshiva, when they were going in, they would stand up straight. There's no one in the water. They would just walk into the water. Ki kasal ki shachi, they would bend over as they're coming out. Okay, we have this Gemara. Reb Zera have come shtamet mid Rab Yehuda the Boile Mesek Larli Yisrael. Reb Zera was avoiding seeing Rab Yehuda. Rab Yehuda is Rabbi Yehuda Bar Yecheskel. Rabbi Yehuda is a student of Rav and a student of Shmuel. This is the one with the big teeth. Reb Zera was going to Eretz Yisrael. He's avoiding seeing Rabbi Yehuda. Dam Rabbi Yehuda kaloyla mi Bavel Eretz Yisrael ever basei. Rabbi Yehuda held that you weren't allowed to leave Bavel because it says Shenemar bebala yuvo v'shama yu. In Yirmiyah it says you're going to go to Bavel and there you'll stay until you're brought back. And they weren't brought back by Mashiach. They had to wait there. But Reb Zera is going anyway to Eretz Yisrael, but he wants to learn from Rabbi Yehuda before he goes. But he doesn't want to hear a statement from Rabbi Yehuda saying don't go, because then he's not going to be able to. So he wants to avoid him. He says, Amar Ezel veshma mine milsa v'aisi ve'esak. Let me go and hear something from him, and I'll have something teaching when I go, and I'll go to Eretz Yisrael. He goes, he sees he's in the bath. He hears him saying to the servant there, the shamish, Hivioli neser, bring me a neser, I assume means soap. Hivioli masrik, bring me a comb. He's talking in Hebrew. Paschu pumaychu va'piku havla, open your mouths and let out breath. V'ishtu mimaya, the beibani, and drink from the water of the bath. Okay, this is the kids do this. They drink the bath water. Yeah, I guess this is a normal thing then. Amar el mali basi or el mali loy basi, depends on how to spell el mali, if with a yud or with an aleph. So el mali loy basi al l'shmei davizeh dai. Just to hear this would have been enough. Such an amazing teaching. When he says bring soap, bring a comb, you see that you're allowed to talk in the bathhouse in Hebrew, as long as it's not Torah content. But content of mundane things you can say in Hebrew. That is also like Shmuel. Damar Shmuel, havla mapik havla. When it says to open your mouth and to breathe in the warm air, so that's like Shmuel says that the breath brings out the breath. Okay, this is something about breathing in the steam. Ela ashtamaya, the chibani maimal yusa, but what benefit is there from drinking the bath water? The Tanya. So we say no, there is a benefit. It was taught, achal v'leishasa, someone eats but he doesn't drink. Achilasi dam, his eating is like blood. V'zeu tchilas chelim miyayim, this is the beginning of stomach pains. Achal v'leihalach dalet ames, if he eats but he doesn't walk 4 ames and he goes straight to bed, he just eats, he falls asleep in his chair, I guess. Achilasim merkeves, the food rots. This is the beginning of a foul sweat. Someone that needs the bathroom, but he eats. That's like an oven that's being heated with the old ashes in there. This is the beginning of also a bad smell, also a bad sweat. Before, the reach ra was a bad smell of the mouth. If he eats and he goes to bed right away, that's a bad smell of halitosis from the breath. Here it's a sweat, a foul sweat. Rachatz bechamen v'leishasamiam. If he drinks, if he bathes in water, hot water, but he doesn't drink from the hot water, it's like an oven that you put the fire outside, but you didn't light it inside. Rachatz bechamen v'leishtatef b'tzainen. If you bathe in hot water, but you don't rinse yourself in cold water, It's like iron. First they put it in the fire. This is the smith. Puts it in the fire, and then he puts it in the cold water to harden it. It was an old chassid from Russia. I would see him in the mikveh in Los Angeles. He would always take a cold shower afterwards. He would tell me, so you have to go into the cold afterwards. It makes the body strong. I think it's also good for the breath. I think that's like, from the hot to the cold. Rachat v'loisach demulamayim al gabi chavis. If he rinses but he doesn't put on oil, so that's like putting water on top of a barrel but not inside. So apparently the oil makes the heat go into the body. I forget what the Abaya said. Amrli aim. Abaya was raised by a wet nurse. There was and she told him some wise things. I forget where it was. Maybe in Saita. Said something about giving kids clay pots to break. And she said another thing about the oil. Someone said this. The oil that you put on the baby strengthens his body his whole life. They put on the oil before the bath. And then they put him in the bath and the oil is supposed to clean. Okay. We have a new Mishnah. Mulyar gar of Shaisin Imenu b'Shabbos. A mulyar is some sort of pot. I think it has a double side to it. Has an extra layer of insulation. They would put coals into that second side. So if you take the coals out, then you can use this on Shabbos. Antichi is different. Exactly how these things look, I don't know. Antichi, I think the coals are underneath it. We'll see in the Gemara. The Gemara itself has a discussion. So, Hechidami Mulyar Agaraf, the Gemara says, what is the case of a Mulyar Agaraf? Tana was taught, Mayim mi bifnim u'gechalim mi bachutz. There's water inside, but there's coals in the pot that are outside. You know those cakes, they have like a circle cake, and in the middle it has like a thing that comes up. So I'm imagining, I don't know what that pan is called. I'm imagining that the inside thing is water,
I think it's
and the outside. What is that?
Bun. I think it's called like a bun.
It's called bunt.
Bunt. So the outside would be for coals, and the inside is water. In that pot, it's hollow. But let's say it was sealed, right? And so it would. It was a type of pot that had the coals on the outside. I don't know where this would be used, but maybe for camping. And anyway, if you take the coals out, it's fine. There's water inside, the coals on the outside. Antichi, what is antichi? Rabbi Amar Beikiri, that sounds like it's a stove. And Rab Nachman Yitzchak Amar Beidudi. Beidudi sounds like it's a faucet. Mandam or Beidudi, if you say that it's a Beidudi, that this faucet, it's like a dud is like a big pot that has a spout to let the water out. So kolskin bekiri, then for sure you can't use something that's like a stovetop. Mandam or Bekiri of a Beidudi loy. But the one that says only if it's like a stove, then maybe this big pot would be acceptable. Tani Kavaseder of Nachman. Bring a raya to Reb Nachman. I assume that means Reb Nachman Bar Yitzchak. It says, Antichi, Alpha Pisha Grufak Tumein, Shaisim Men of Nation, Nechushta Mecham Masa. Okay, Nechushta means it's the bottom of it heats it up. So Rashi learns Nechushta means the bottom. So the difference between a mulyar and antichi is if the coals are held on the bottom. Maybe what an antichi is that it has a like a fake bottom, a second layer, and the coals would be put into the pot itself. There's two layers of the pot comes all the way down, but in the middle there's another layer of there's two bottoms to this pot. The lower one holds coals, and that even if you take the coals out, it's a problem. Okay, hamechem shapino. If you have a hot water urn that you emptied out, you can't put in cold water into it to heat it up. But you can put from this, that there's going to be a problem here. But you can put into a cup in order to warm it up. The Gemara will explain. My kamar. What does this Mishnah mean? Amar Avad bar Masnachi kamar. This is what it means. If you empty it out from the hot water, don't put in a little bit of cold water, because the little bit of cold water will heat up from the keli. But a lot of cold water you can put in. Why? Because a lot of cold water won't heat up from this keli. It will cool off the keli. Now, but what's going to happen? And to make it lukewarm. So it will take away the chill that you're allowed. So if you're putting it, the difference is the amount now. The Gemara says, 1 second. You have a dry, hot urn, and you're putting cold water in. That's exactly how you make metal. You have a hot metal that's dry, like straight off the fire, and you put it in cold water. You're strengthening the utensil. The Gemara says, Reb Shimon, that's not a problem. That's not your intention. It's Reb Shimon's opinion. Reb Shimon holds, Davar shein miskaven is mutter. Reb Shimon holds that if you don't intend to do that malacha, it's not a problem. Maskef la Abaya. Midi meichem shapina men mayim ktani. Did we say that you took the water out? Meichem shapino ktani. That it means that you took it off the fire. Doesn't mean that it was emptied off the fire, not it was emptied out off the fire. It was removed from the fire, but it still had the hot water in it, so it's not mitzaref. Elam Abaya hachikamar. Hamechem shapino. Abaya says this is the pshat. You took it off the fire, the yesh by mayim chamen, and there still is hot water in it. Layitin l'teicha mayim moatim. Don't put in a little bit of cold water so that it should heat up. But you can put in, now you're mixing water. You can put in a lot of water so that the waters together will be lukewarm. But if you empty out the water, don't add in any water, because that is strengthening the utensil. Rabbi Yehuda, and it's really the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, who holds that even if that's not your intention, but it's still performing the malacha. Amar Rav. Rav says, Leishanu el lahafshe. We're taught that you're allowed to put cold water if you're making the water, you're taking away the chill from the water. Aval etzaref, it's aser. But if it's to strengthen the vessel, then it's aser. Shmuel amar afilu etzaref nami muter. Shmuel says even letzaref is allowed, even to strengthen the vessel. Wow, letzaref lechatchila mishari. You're allowed to just strengthen the vessel. Shmuel says, no, you can't learn it like that. You have to say it like this. The Rav says the amount that you put in could be the amount to make the water lukewarm. Shir litzaref is usher, but if you put in a lot, it makes it like it stuns the, from hot to cold. You put it in a big bucket of cold water. You fill the whole thing up with cold water. That's usher. Shmuel amar fir shir litzaref mutter, and Shmuel says even the shir, even if a lot of cold water is allowed, l'meimra. The Shmuel Reb Shimon Svirle. Is this to say that Shmuel holds like Reb Shimon? I thought we said that Shmuel does hold like Reb Shimon several times. V'amar Shmuel, but Shmuel says Mechaben Gachel Shamatachas B'Shvil Shli Yizuka Barabim. Shmuel says that if there happens to be a danger in a public area, there's a coal in a public area, then you're allowed to put it out. It's a coal it's a hot iron. This could be very dangerous. So you're allowed to put water on it. But not if it's made out of wood. Because if it's made out of wood, that's an Issa Deraisa. Gachel Shamateches is only Issa Derabanan. You're not really extinguishing a fire over there. Wood is you're extinguishing a fire. But if you say that Shmuel holds like Reb Shimon, afil shaleitz nami, then why can't you put out wood? Your intention is not to put out a fire. It's a davar shein miskaven. Your intention is that no one gets hurt. So the Gemara says, "B'davar shein miskaven savar like Reb Shimon." He holds like Reb Shimon by a davar shein miskaven. That's true. B'malacha shein tzrich legufa savar like Reb Yehuda. However, when you're putting out the fire, that doesn't have to do with miskaven or not. Your intention over there is to put out the fire as well. Why would it not be a malacha by putting out a wood coal? Because you're not putting it out because you want the ash or you want the coal. That was the malacha of extinguishing, was because you're creating coal. That's not what you want to do here. It's a malacha shein tzrich legufa. You're putting it out because you don't want someone to get hurt. But it's not because of the creation of the coal that you're looking for. So for that, Shmuel says that's malacha shein tzrich legufa is aser. That's Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. There's two machlekes. So machlekes Rabbi Yehuda and Reb Shimon regarding davar shein miskaven. And that Shmuel holds like Reb Shimon, the lenient opinion. When it comes to malacha shein tzrich legufa, over there Shmuel goes like Rabbi Yehuda. And that's the case by the coal. Therefore, because rabbinic decrees are relaxed when it comes to public hazard, so if there's a thorn in a public area, you could bring it less than 4 amas until you get it to the side so that people won't get hurt from it. And if it's in a carmelis, where it's anyways rabbinic, you could bring it even more than 4 amas. Okay, let's leave it over here.